Hello and welcome to Catamount Community Connection, our weekly public affairs show, and we air it each and every Sunday across all 5 of our Catamount radio stations, and you can also hear it at your leisure on PEG TV. Just Google PEG TV and then find Catamount Community Connection, and you can see who was on the show when, and then listen to that particular show, again, at your leisure. Our show brought to you by the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which has brought you the Vermont State Fair at Rutland since 1846. And yes, folks, we're looking forward to the 180th Vermont State Fair coming up in August. It will coincide rather nicely with the 250th birthday of the United States of America. And guess what? Today, we are going to welcome in the president of the Rutland County Agricultural Society, and he's also a history teacher, and also president of the whole Fair Association in Vermont, Robert Congdon. And, of course, he is in a very great line of Congdons in the area. His grandfather, Ed, was president of the fair for many years, and I knew him pretty well. And anyway, Robert, it's always good to see you. I've been promising people that we're going to have you in for a number of weeks now, so we finally got it together, and here you are. How you doing?
Doing great, Brian, and thank you for having me, and I'll always thank you for your support, and always looking forward to the next event at the fairgrounds. So we appreciate you, too.
So let's just, for the sake of doing it, talk about the history of the fair. I know we have some, other things to talk about, but this is something that's been around, as I mentioned, since 1846. And the first fair was not in Rutland at all. It was in Castleton. Maybe some folks know that, maybe they don't. And originally it was just a one-day event, and it was in a field near Castleton. I'm not sure exactly what municipality, but Frederick Button was the first president, and then it became very popular, enough so probably in the mid-1850s, we actually had railroad cars, and they put extra cars on to bring people into the area so they could go to the fair. And then it moved around Rutland County for a few years and finally settled in Rutland City. At one point, it is, not rumored, I'm looking at the history of the fair, it was on land owned by John Cain, C-A-I-N. That is now Grove Street, just north of Crescent on the old Baxter estate. And then finally, it got its permanent home in 1856, and that is at 175 South Main Street, originally known as the Rutland County Park. Neither Robert or I were around when it was known as the Rutland County Park, but it was officially renamed in 1972 as the Vermont State Fair. And it's over the years, attracted lots of normally country acts, and this year I know we have one that we'll be talking about, but I thought it was kind of neat to talk about the history of the fair. It wasn't always where it is, even though I think most people assume, well, it's been there since they opened it, but that wasn't true, and it's been something that most everybody in Rutland County attends every year, and we hope there is more and more of you coming every year, but everybody knows about the fair, and we call it the Rutland Fair, but it's the Vermont State Fair. And I know from having you up at the legislature, there are, I think, 12 or 13 other fairs around the state.
Yep.
And they all have their own thing that they do. Rutland's Fair, the Vermont State Fair, is in August now. Used to be near Labor Day, for those that can remember that. And it was, at one point, I think, a 9-day or 10-day fair. It eclipsed 2 weekends. I remember that. It's been moved back a little bit, but congratulations, by the way, to you and your volunteers for a great fair last year. You are always seemingly battling the weather in some years.
Very true.
If it's pouring rain, there's not much you can do about that. You still have to go on, but we're hoping for a whole 5-6 day period of maybe 75, 80 degrees and nice sunny weather. Anyway, I thought it was kind of cool to go back and look at that. So how are things at the fair? Who's coming? Any new attractions? What's going to be our big act this year? Because now we're recording this on May 2nd, folks, so it'll air 3 and 7 is 10 on May 10th, a week away. but you could tell us what you know right now about all the events that are coming up.
Yeah, so we are excited. The fair this year is the 18th to the 22nd. So it's the fair dates are always based on Labor Day. And last year, Labor Day was the 1st, and this year's Labor Day is the 7th. So this is one of those years where it shifts kind of back the other direction. And that's true for actually all the fairs around us, too. Mm-hmm. Our dates shift this year. And then it's going to, we're going to be kind of these, I call it the late dates for the next 7 years before we go back the other way. But so we are really excited. We've got a lot of everything that's solidified at this point that's coming together. Of course, the Paramount has partnered with us. It's been great to work with Eric again. And we have Aaron Lewis and the State Liners as our headliner for Saturday. And I know there's a lot of excitement for him and their local connection as well, which is exciting. With roots around here. So we're definitely excited for that to kind of round things out. We've made that kind of a tradition that we close out with our big act. As far as other events on the grandstand, we are going to have everything kicks off with the Pond Hill Pro Rodeo like it has the last few years. And then the rest of the week, we are going to have tractor and truck pulls again. We're going to have motorcycle racing. We got a different company this year that's more local that we're excited about. And we are going to be sanctioned this year, which I'm hoping that brings out a few more riders, but I'm also hoping that's going to bring folks out to see if this is something that's going to catch on. We've always said we need to do something 3 years before we throw the towel in on it. So we're hoping that if people like the motorcycle racing, that we see them come out this year. And then, of course, you can't miss a demolition derby. Right. You got to have a demolition derby during the fair. So that's the Diamonds and More grandstand lineup for the week. And that should be exciting. That's going to be a great 5 nights of just action-packed items. As far as out on the fairgrounds, we have quite a few acts that we've cycled through, and we've got folks coming in. We have, of course, he's really been a hit, and he's been to a lot of fairs. I know you see him, Brian, and he's a Vermont guy. I don't know how many people know that, but Pirate Man Dan, of course, has got to be around, and he's going to be here with his roaming axe and the mobile tractor, and his wife's going to be doing the moving mermaid again, and that's going to be exciting. We've got what was really a hit last year as well was the Sharks and the Stingrays, so they're going to be back for another year. But what we've been asked a lot about was we missed the dock diving dogs. Mm-hmm. They were not here last year, and we are pleased to report that we believe it's all final at this point, that they are going to be a different group coming in and going to be running dock diving again. And that should be exciting. That should be something that people look forward to. Yeah.
Can people buy tickets yet for all of this?
We plan to have our ticketing live probably about a week after this airs. Okay. So we're coming up on it. Yeah, we're coming up on it, but they're not quite there yet. Aaron Lewis and the State Liners is absolutely live. You can go to the ParamountVT.org and definitely can jump in there and grab tickets for Aaron Lewis already. The rest of the lineup, all of that should be up here. Like you said, this is going to air, I think, in about a week or so, right. And about a week after that. So hopefully in about 2 weeks from where we are right now.
We're talking to Robert Congdon, who is president of the Vermont State Fair, which is run and organized by the Rutland County Agricultural Society, also president of all of the fair associations, and teaches history. Tell me about that. How did you ever get to be a teacher?
Goodness. So I think that the roots, I fell in love with history early on, particularly Civil War history was where I fell in love with it. In middle school, and our school still does this, we take a trip to Gettysburg. We take the middle schoolers to Gettysburg. And I really fell in love with history around that time, I think, more than anything. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know. I was on the path to one of two things. It was potentially going to go into the ministry and be a pastor, or I was going to go the route of a teacher. And I guess all of the the paths lined up, and where I ended up was at College of St. Joe in the secondary ed program, and yeah.
So which do you move the class around in terms of different eras to teach, or are you like all Civil War? Or
no? So I still teach one class. Even that now that I'm the head of school over there, I still stay in the classroom for one class. And what I primarily teach at this point is a rotation through the middle school. So I'm teaching all middle school history, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So my areas this year is Eastern civilizations. I'm actually teaching Russia right now. But we also do that U.S. history, which includes the Civil War. And then next year actually is going to be the 6th grade curriculum, where we're going to be doing ancient civilizations, which is Mesopotamia up through Rome. So I kind of rotate around a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of people don't realize how often the fairgrounds are used. I've been or have been associated with RAVE for many years, the Rutland Area Vehicle Enthusiasts. It's always the second weekend in July, the car show. And so that's one example. But I know that the fair has other things going on a lot of the time. In fact, you probably need those events to be able to generate enough revenue to keep the whole thing moving. So if you wanted to just go by month, we got the calendar here, and I can scroll through it. So what else is coming up? Let's see. So we're going to air this on the 10th, and I see a bunch of stuff coming up after the 10th, and we can go through May, June, July, and August if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything kicked off from where we're recording right now. Last week, of course, people know about Vintage Market Days. It's always a big hit. That's all our season. We refer to it as our season begins with Vintage Market Days, and then it ends with Vintage Market Days on the other end as well in the fall. But we are, as this is airing, the first horse show of the year, which is an open gymkhana, and also they're going to do some like trail riding type things. Though the first of those shows is taking place. We also have 4-H events that happen quite regularly, and this about a week from when this airs, we're going to have their clinic and their first show. We're excited to have Pete's RV back this year. They're coming in to run a camper sale in the Oval again. We also now host both Relay for Life events. So we have Bark for Life on May 17th, and then the first weekend of June, they'll be here for actual Relay for Life. There's other smaller type things that people don't realize. May 23rd, there's a rabbit show in the President's Building, which is not just a show. They do a sale as well within their organization. In June, we also have a gun show in Mandigo, which will take place over the second weekend of June. We have 2 motorcycle races scheduled this year. We have the one during the fair, but we also have one scheduled for June 20th, where they're going to get to know our facility and hopefully draw in some riders and be able to kind of set the stage for the fair in August. We also are home, as you mentioned already, Brian, to several car shows. We actually host, I think, 3 or 4 now is where we're at with that. So we have the first one of the season is the supports the Shriners. That's for the Love of Kids car show. That's always typically on Father's Day, so that's June 21st this year. The following weekend, the 27th and 28th of June, we have the second horse show / festival that'll take place, and we're excited. Actually, just yesterday, the material got hauled in for a warm-up ring. We needed to add another facility for horses to warm up before they go into their competitions, so that happened yesterday from where we're airing. And then, of course, we've got to talk about the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. And
maybe we should loop back to that because that's a big topic to talk about.
Okay.
We'll have the Summer Smash, but there's a lot more going into that this year with the 250th. And then we're up to Rave, and near and dear to your heart, and they've been connected to the fair now for, over 50 years. Yeah. So, I mean, Rave has just had such roots in this area, and we appreciate that whole crew and all that they do each year. And always the second weekend in July, and they're doing such great work. Then we go into a little bit of a lull. I see something on there that actually is not scheduled. So the next major event is actually another car/truck show. We have a commercial truck show on August 1st, which is where we bring out all the big rigs, and people can come out and experience that and check them out. And it's always a great time. And then, of course, that brings us up to the Vermont State Fair itself on the 18th to the 22nd. There's a couple other things that are scheduled. We are going to host a couple online auctions through Lambrecht Auctions again, and we're their site to pick up. So people may have been down to the fairgrounds and bought online construction items, and we're the host location for people to come and pick up those lots when they win a lot online. So that's exciting too.
Yeah. Again, talking to Robert Congdon, who is the president of the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which brings you the Vermont State Fair every year. And again, the dates this year, August 18th through the 22nd. You can buy tickets for the grandstand show on Saturday, the 22nd, by going to ParamountVT.org. And that's the headliner this year. And then we've gone over some of the other events that will be coming up through the Vermont State Fair days. I also see there's something called the Save the Vermont State Fair Gatehouse. And this is something that the picture here is really cool. It's got to be from the 50s. And it is the building that everybody sees when they drive by the fairgrounds on South Main Street. But apparently, and I have noticed it's got a little bit of a list to it. And it can use a little bit of work, right? So what is that all about?
Yeah, so you got a little sneak peek, Brian, of what's coming out here, hopefully in the middle of May. We are getting ready to roll out a fundraising campaign to rehab and save, ultimately, the gatehouse out on Route 7. The gatehouse is, by as far as we can determine, when they got the property in the mid-1850s, it was one of the first structures that was built on the property. It goes back definitely into probably the 1860s. It might even, again, predate into the mid-1850s. And it's showing its age. It's had some work done to it over the years, but it's definitely in the condition now that we've got to take some serious action. So we're getting ready to roll out our Save the Gatehouse campaign. I've got a couple more meetings with some contractors, and we got to finalize a few things just to get our final figures put together of exactly what it's going to take. We know that we've got to essentially have a specialty company come in and jack it up and put a foundation under it. As you mentioned, it's got a list to it. Most of these buildings back in that time period, when they put them up, they put them on piers, and they either that or they got some big chunks of waste marble from the marble company, and they built on top of that. And just unfortunately, over the years, we were where we are on Route 7. There's a lot of sand in our soil, so over multiple years, those blocks just sink and stuff ends up being on the ground. And obviously we know what happens to buildings and lumber when it's on the ground. So it's going to be a very large undertaking. We are confident it's something that we can do. We know it's going to be a relatively hefty price tag that we're going to have to raise. But we hope that everybody who has the memories and has the identity of the fairgrounds with that gatehouse out on Route 7. I mean, I think it's just so iconic for our facility that we're just hoping folks will come out and join us and get behind it. We're going to have some different initiatives. We're working on, not just monies. We're hoping that we can also connect folks in tangible ways. We also, some folks realize this, some may not know this. We have really two entities. We have a sub-entity that's a foundation, which gives scholarships to area seniors. And the foundation is not just for that, but the foundation's also for education and for, keeping the fair alive. And the foundation this last week had a meeting and determined we want to be behind the restoration and make sure that there's a historical education component to this restoration as well, so people can come up to the facility afterwards and learn about it and know the history and know the time periods that this structure existed through and how it was built and all of that. So that's going to be a major part of it. So there's going to be some tangible ways that people are going to be able to get involved. We're going to be sharing those in the weeks to come, months to come, and we're excited and hoping that we're very, very optimistic, but we have hopes that maybe even work can begin in 2026. And it's a lofty goal, but we think we can get there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. For those of you that follow Ray Mooney's You Might Be From Rutland If Facebook page, on occasion you'll see pictures of vehicles that literally are going all the way up, and I'm still calling it Gouger Hill. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a 2-lane road, Route 7 at one point. So you've got this line of vehicles, and I'm talking from the 40s back and some 50s, and they're all waiting to get in line to get over the gatehouse door to enter the fairground. So at one point, that must have been how you got in and out of the fair. Lately, there's a Park Street entrance and then one up on Dana, but at one point that must have been the one.
Yeah, the primary traffic back in the day traveled through that gate. There would have been other ways in and out, but and as we know this from back in the days of parimutuel in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you had to get into the fairgrounds and you might have to wait for a horse race to get over with, or you might have to get in one of those other gates. Right. So, but yes, the gatehouse, of course, was the main stop and the main entrance. Just from my history perspective, you think of how many people probably walked through that opening, since the mid 1800s. And it's something we got to save. It's something we're excited to save, and we want it to be there for generations to come. So,
yeah, well, we'll keep our eye on it. So there will be an effort to save the Vermont State Fair Gatehouse at some point in mid-May here. And, this is probably a nonprofit kind of donation you can make in whatever amount you want. And we'll let Robert stay in touch with us to let you know how to do that. But that is, it's just one of those buildings that you go by every time you travel down Route 7. And maybe people haven't noticed it. I can remember being inside that building, excuse me, in years past, where there would be meetings about what's coming up and all that sort of thing. I think we did remote broadcasts from there at one point. And it's just one of those buildings that signify our history here in the region. So I don't want to see it go away. I'd love to see it restored. And, we'll keep you posted on that, folks. I think we're going to take our first break here on Catamount Community Connection. We're talking today with Robert Congdon, who is the president of the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which brings you the Vermont State Fair each year. And also, Robert is president of the rest of the fair associations, and there's 12 or 13 statewide. And we'll talk to him maybe about how all the other ones are doing. And then we also want to talk a little bit more about some of the events, unfortunately, that have sort of become obstacles for the fair here and other fairs. Some of them in a little better shape than Rutland is, but we want to talk about that in terms of legislation that's pending and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be back with Robert Congdon here on Catamount Community Connection in just a minute. Welcome back to the Catamount Community Connection, and we are brought to you today by the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which has brought you the Vermont State Fair at Rutland since 1846, and show number 180 is coming up, 180th Vermont State Fair, August 18th through the 22nd, and each week, of course, here on the radio, we talk with various people from the community, business, professional, nonprofit, and political folks. And today we are very happy to have Robert Congdon, who is the president of the Rutland County Agricultural Society and also president of the Fair Association, which means other fairs. The biggest one in the state, the Champlain Valley Fair, I don't think there's any secret there. And they, along with the Addison County Field Days, and I think those are the three. There's one up north, too, because they feed Lake Memphremagog. But we talked a little bit more about this 3-acre rule and all that stuff that's going on. We managed through a little piece of legislation last year to at least exempt the Vermont State Fair from impact fees with regard to that, and they were able to scrounge up a little bit of money to help with looking at the situation and trying to figure out what the best way to come into compliance was. I know the Champlain Valley Fair is in very good shape with that because they have a lot more land, and they were able to satisfy the requirement needs there. And same thing with the Addison County Field Days. They've got a huge field where they could let all that stormwater go. So I don't need to get any more specific about that. We are on your side so much, Robert, in the delegation that is in the legislature. We are going to try to continue to refine the requirements. I understand some people have actually found themselves off the list that were on it at one time.
Oh, interesting.
And that is good news.
Yeah, that is good news.
And some of that is with people right here in Rutland County, but unfortunately, the Vermont State Fair is still up against it. So we will do whatever we can to continue to help out. We need the fair. We want the fair. It's something that has been here, as I said, for 180 years, and we have to keep it going. So we'll just have to make sure that we either find funding if we can't get the requirements reduced, or reduce the requirements. That would be my choice. You know, Rutland City is putting in this big, huge reservoir underneath Meadow Street Park to collect stormwater. I think it's 600,000 gallons or something like that.
I've heard that. Yeah.
It's going to store a lot of the stormwater, and that will alleviate the pressure on the water treatment plant further up the road. But unfortunately, it's at quite a distance from you folks, so I don't think you're going to be able to take advantage of that. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And the other fairs, when we had everybody up that day in the Senate Agriculture Committee, and I know later you went into Senate institutions, it seems like everybody's doing pretty well, having a good time. There were a lot of smiles, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we actually just had an association meeting in the last 2 weeks, and the room was very positive. I mean, we had representatives from everywhere from, Lamoille, Caledonia, Orleans, the Maple Festival. Folks were a little busy that day, but they get plugged in to us as well. And actually, interestingly enough, we had a visitor from the farm show, which is getting back and running in 27 as well. So, we get together typically 3 times a year, and the fairs kind of compare notes with each other. We talk about issues that are facing all of us so that we can then be in touch with you and keep you apprised of what we're seeing and what we're hearing. So yeah, the 3-acre rule certainly is the biggest struggle right now. We are in that look phase. The engineers just started their work to get our site kind of assessed for what's going on and what might be an option for us. And so that's where, even if it is to make the case that our site's too complicated, because that's one of the options, you can make the case that your site is too complicated and it's not feasible to capture all the water. So with our size, our number of buildings, and just all the different places we are spread out, that may be the direction we go. We'll see. But yes, we are in that process now. The other fairs, as you mentioned, are in pretty good shape when it comes to that. Most of them are coming in either under budget or just over budget from the money that was set aside into the Agency of Agriculture. And we all look at similar things. We look at rising costs for various things. We look at even down to having discussions about our electric bills. I mean, what are you seeing? What are we seeing? Are you putting generators in? Are you, where are you targeting to try and cut costs? All of those types of things play into it. So we have a very cordial and friendly relationship. That wasn't always the case among the fairs. But I think the reality is that in the last probably 20 years, the reality has set in that we've got to we're better off together than competing with each other and being separate from each other. So that's encouraging to see. I'm getting ready to wrap up my stint as president. I'm going to be wrapping up this fall. So there's going to be passing of the baton because we have term limits that are in place. And it's exciting each year as we all talk and as we all get together and look to what's going to happen for each of our seasons. So
we tried to, and Jackie Folsom's a great rep for you folks, we tried to get a little bit more funding for the premiums, the so-called, blue ribbon kind of things. Yep. Unfortunately, when it got to the Senate Appropriations Committee, it got cut, but it was one of those things we tried. This has been an incredibly challenging year to try to find money for pretty much anything. A lot of stuff has just been cut. There's no way around it. We don't have the money from the federal government that we had at one time. And as you mentioned, and it's true, if you look at the Transportation Committee and that whole area, we normally would be able to pave about 250 miles of Vermont roads, most of that interstate. This year, we're going to pave about 30 or 40.
Wow.
The Transportation Fund is down about $33 million. And a lot of that is because, well, a couple of things. People are slowly, and I say slowly because I'm not one of them, moving to electric vehicles. I still like my gas-powered car, thank you, but others have moved over to the EVs, and so they don't pay a gas tax because they use electricity. They don't use fuel. And so the gas tax has been, over the last 4 or 5 years, I don't want to say plummeting, but it's on a downward trajectory for sure. So there's less money coming into the Transportation Fund. And then the other thing is all the costs to pave have gone up. The asphalt isn't what it was even 5 years ago. Labor is also on the rise. You got to pay people enough so they can make a living. And just so the whole cost of putting a mile of interstate together has really gone up. So you can only do so much, and that means a fewer amount of miles, and that's where we are this year. So we're looking for about $33 million, which is still in the hole. We haven't figured out how to get that. A lot of what is in the Transportation Fund, there's 3 funds in the state. There's what's called the General Fund, which is the majority of taxes and the revenue. Then there's the Education Fund, and then there's the Transportation Fund. And what we did a few years ago, again, I'm preloading this by using the word, we robbed the Transportation Fund of some funds that would normally go there and sent them to the Education Fund to keep that going. So it's always which pocket are you going to take it from? There's only so much money that's available. Anyway, all that aside, we hope to be able to continue to give the fair associations throughout the state a little bit more each year. We're not talking millions of dollars either, folks. We're talking 20, 30 grand a fair so that they can continue to offer the premiums that they offer. And, the cost for bringing in the acts that you have go up every year. I know that. Aaron Lewis and the state liners aren't working for less than they worked the year before, right?
That is true.
So,
and Brian, those funds, when we come up to the legislature and we talk to you, we always talk about how grateful we are to the legislature that those funds are really the seeds that help us plant to be able to start projects. It's no secret. So last year, we completed our final bathroom so that we don't have to rent any porta potties on the fairgrounds during the fair anymore. And so we had one more handicap accessible bathroom that needed to be built, and we were able to build that on the ag side last year, and that was a grant project. So most fairs are investing that in areas that are very tangible to the public. The public see that, and they see what gets upgraded. This year, we actually have a year and a half of grant that's on the books right now. That's going to be going to rebuild the machine shed finally that was taken down about 3 years ago now. It came down quite a while ago. We had to remove it from the property, and we've had the piers actually where the pony rides have been going on for the last couple of years that are in the ground and are awaiting the build. And as of right now, it won't be before the fair, but that building is slated to get rebuilt this fall, right after the fair is over with, so that we can complete that project, and it'll be there for 2027. And again, the grant is what's funding that. And like you mentioned, I think for us, I don't know about all the other fairs, but our grant typically is between $30,000 and $35,000 a year, and the fairs have to put skin in the game on that. We have to match a certain amount, and we have to show that it went where it's supposed to go. And then the stipends for most of the fairs are right around $10,000. Yep. So the stipends, as you said, can be used some for operations, but it's primarily to make sure we're paying out a decent amount to the public in our premiums. And I guess a plug for just a second on that is we have seen an uptick in participation in the premiums categories, whether you're bringing down vegetables, baked goods, all of those categories, right? I mean, there's just so many. Our premium book is online, vermontstatefair.org, and it'll be up in the next few weeks from where we're talking about this, so just keep an eye out. We're always looking for more participants, always looking for more folks to come out and enter, whatever it may be. We've got a category, it seems like, for almost everything these days. So folks definitely should take that opportunity to participate and have a little friendly competition with the neighbors and see whose apple pie is better, or see who grew the best zucchini, and you might walk away with a few bucks because of it.
I've always been impressed with the balance that you have to strike between the agricultural piece of the fair and then the sort of midway or entertainment part. If you go too far one way or another, I'm sure it affects attendance. If you get it in that sweet spot where everybody seems pretty happy, you get more people coming. And sometimes people who've never been on the agricultural side, they've only come for the concert or the demo derby or whatever, all of a sudden find themselves walking and go, oh, wow, this is something I've never really realized.
Yeah, so the reality is, and I don't have any true scientific data behind this, so it's a claim I'm going to make that I've been told by multiple people, but we at the Vermont State Fair have, at this point, the most included entertainment in the Northeast, meaning when you go to the gate and you pay your $15 or $12, depending on the day. So when you go to the gate and you pay that fee, you have the most included entertainment than what you're going to get at any other fair. At this point, our grounds acts that, again, you don't pay anything extra for. You come onto the grounds and you're allowed to, go and you watch them, and you can make a whole day of it. The reality is that's the most included entertainment that there is right now on the market for the price. If you were to go and have to pay per show, to go see them, probably, even if you were to say $10 a show, we average on every year 6 to 8 grounds acts that we bring in on the grounds. So, that's a $60 or $80 value that really you're getting for our most expensive day is $15. So you're getting that for $15, whereas what it would cost if you had to take that in one at a time.
Yeah,
so
divide by 6, and that's, get it. We're talking to Robert Congdon, who is the president of the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which brings you the Vermont State Fair every year. And Robert's also the chief guy at the Vermont State Fair Association. And you mentioned earlier some of the acts that are coming back. The dock diving dogs will be back again this year.
Yep.
And the other one that we didn't mention are the racing pigs, but I want to give you a shot to do that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, last year we ran into this where Rosaires, which we all love and we all want the sound of the bugle on the fairgrounds. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are, you know when Rosaires is getting ready to race. He is still facing a little bit of health issues, so he tentatively, which is exciting, has committed to 27. So we're looking ahead to next year. This year we did change it up again, and we actually are slated to have racing pigs and and goats, I believe. So we're working on that. Hopefully that comes to fruition, and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed on that. But we're looking at other options. We also have Aristov's acrobatics coming back, and we took a year or two off from him, and great interactive show for kids. He's excellent at getting kids up to help juggle or hold something, and he's very, very interactive, and he does a great show. And we're looking forward to welcoming him back on the fairgrounds. And yeah, I mean, just we try to rotate those grounds acts in and out. We try to get different ones. We've got it's been a couple years now, but we've got Louis Comedy Circus coming back this year, which is again another fun interactive show for kids. There's just lots of different things that people can come down and experience, and say nothing about who that people come down and put up the exhibits. We're really excited that the National Guard's been back now with the giant equipment that kids can climb all over and get to see what our military uses to keep us safe. And just there's so many different pieces that come together for this.
We're going to take our second break here on Catamount Community Connection. We'll be back with Robert Congdon in just a minute. Welcome back to Catamount Community Connection. I'm your host, Brian Collamore. Each week, we talk with folks from the area, the community, and some of them come from the business community, professional, nonprofit, and political arenas. And again, our show brought to you by the Rutland County Agricultural Society, which has brought you the Vermont State Fair at Rutland since 1846. The 180th Vermont State Fair is really not that far away. It's coming up August 18th through the 22nd, and we invite people to go on the website, Vermont State Fair, all spelled out.org. You can also go on ParamountVT.org if you want to buy tickets for Aaron Lewis and the Stateliners, who will be wrapping up the fair this year on August 22nd at the Diamonds and More Grandstand. And I know you appreciate their support through the years, and I appreciate your support for the show every week. And Robert Congdon is with us today. So one of the things that we alluded to earlier was the Summer Smash, the July 4th celebration, and we said we'd get back to it. So we only have a few minutes left in the show, so let's talk about that. This, of course, is the 250th birthday of our country, and it was also 180 years ago that the fair began. So what are we looking forward to on the 4th of July?
Well, Brian, it's been exciting. I've been going to the intermunicipal meetings with Rutland City and Rutland Town and the areas that are interested in making the 250th really something special this year, as it should be. And the fairgrounds is what we can say, and you'll be the first, I think, to release it publicly, is we're going to kind of be a focal point for the 250th on the 4th of July. So we'll have the Summer Smash in the evening, which folks will be able to buy tickets for that soon as well. But we're also going to be host to some other events going on that day. The fairgrounds is the target right now, and we don't have all the details 100% put together, but the fairgrounds is going to open in the early afternoon. It's going to be a free admission situation. So you can come down to the fairgrounds and spend the afternoon enjoying what's going to be taking place. We've got some different activities. We've got different potentially exhibits going to be on display. We've got also some possible games and sports type stuff that's being talked about, which I think is going to come together and going to be exciting as well. There's going to be a wide spread, so it's going to be for adults and for kids. We're going to have a decent spread of both aspects. So it's not just bringing the kids down and watching them. There's going to be something for the parents to do as well. Food vendors, of course, there will be a cost to that. People want to buy food. And then, of course, folks who purchase their Summer Smash tickets will be able to go onto the grandstand and experience DNA Motorsports in front of the Diamonds and More grandstand that evening. And then what I think everybody is most excited about, and a huge thank you to Alex Adams and his group who have done so much work. Fireworks are once again going to be over the sky in Rutland City, and we're excited to have partnered with that. I know now it is official that this is the 4th of July fireworks display, not only for the city, but it's also for Rutland Town at this point has joined in. So it is an intermunicipal type situation where municipalities have come together to make this a bigger, better show, and it's going to be a great celebration at 9:45 to celebrate our nation. So, there's going to be a lot. Again, we're going to be a focal point that day, and I hope folks will really schedule themselves, plan to come down, and plan to spend the afternoon into the evening on the fairgrounds and just take in and celebrate and have time with one another and be able to do that.
It's also fortunate this is a year where the 4th of July happens on a Saturday, so you don't have to do a Monday holiday kind of thing,
That's right. Yeah, no, it's going to be a great Saturday. I know that I'm already hearing buzz out of the Demolition Derby crowd. They're excited to put on a great show as well. And there's just going to be so much, and we always, based on that day, we'll see what the traffic is like. But the fairgrounds is open if you just come in for the fireworks as well. If we've got any parking left at that point, it's going to be a packed day. So what I'm hoping is folks are going to come down and maybe pack the picnic in the car, that they can go out after all the festivities of the day and stay at the car and tailgate and watch the fireworks in the Oval or wherever they're going to be and enjoy it.
Is that where we're going to set them off?
So they typically, folks always ask that. Where do the fireworks come from? They actually come over by the Mandigo Arena.
Okay.
There's a small field over there, and that's where they set everything up, and that's where they launch from, and it's a great central location. It's got enough elevation that pretty much you can see those fireworks all over the city if you're in the right spot.
Yeah, and I know, like everything else, it probably costs more money every year. I don't know if it's gunpowder, but whatever it is that they use to fire them off is more expensive every year. So that's neat. I didn't realize that Alex Adams was part of that group, so they must have fundraised. Yeah,
so it's and you can pull it up on Facebook probably, Brian, but it's the I'm going to get this wrong. It's for Rutland is what the title is, and they've been fundraising, and they had a target of $30,000, and I think they're knocking on that door right now. I think the last figure that I saw was right around $2,500 is what they had left to raise. So they're right at that goal. And that is what's exciting about that, I think, is that this is the first time, as far as I'm aware, in the history of the fireworks show that they've truly been 100% crowdsourced. The businesses, I know we jumped on board. I know the city did do a contribution. I think Rutland Town I saw also did a contribution, but it's largely been individuals and small businesses, nonprofits that have all come together to make this happen, and that's really special. Yeah, and that's how you do it if you do it correctly. In other words, it'd be nice to always lean on some of our bigger businesses in the area, the Casellas, et cetera. And I'm not saying that they didn't probably contribute to some degree, but if you can spread the burden out and the load of the cost of doing something to as many people as you can make it really a big deal. I can remember when that fireworks event used to cost about $10,000 a year, and you got quite a lot of, excuse the pun, bang for your buck, and now $30,000, and that's an amazing thing. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to that then on the 4th of July, Summer Smash, and this year it will include fireworks. So yes, folks, there will be fireworks in Rutland this year for the 4th of July, and a day-long celebration
of the 250th birthday of the country. So that's very exciting.
And to give Alex the plug he deserves, the Facebook page, I just pulled it up, is actually Fireworks Over Rutland.
Okay.
And I know that if you scroll down the page, there's actually the website link to be able to do the donations. But they're also even collecting bottles at Olivia's. Like, you can drop your bottles off and say, I want those to go to the fireworks. So that's, again, very tangible ways you can help make them happen.
Yeah. We're talking to Robert Congdon, who is president of the Rutland County Agricultural Society. And again, they bring you the Vermont State Fair every year. 180th Fair, folks, August 18th through the 22nd. And Robert is also the president, I guess you could say the outgoing president, of the fair associations of the state, and also teaches history at the Rutland Christian School. I don't know what else. We didn't really do a bio on you, but I know most people realize who you are, and who your granddad was.
Sure.
I mean, it's an amazing lineage that you come from. So you must have grown up at the fair.
To a degree, yeah. I mean, he retired about the time, I think I was right around 10 years old. So some of my memories are probably a little weak going back, terribly far, but one of my first memories, actually was talking with it about it with one of my trustees the other day, is I remember, I think the first concert I was really allowed to go to was Joe Diffie in the grandstand. And it was a packed show. And that would have been, I think, somewhere like 1996, 95, somewhere in that ballpark. And, but yeah, we grew up with certain rules of things we weren't allowed to do, because when you have the manager as your granddad, we were never allowed to enter competitions. We were never allowed to do things like that because we didn't want anything to look like favoritism. Right. But yeah, it was just a major part of life. And on the farm, it always coincided with chopping corn for the cows to put up the silage for the cows. And I remember it was always the fair came and we were going to be chopping corn at either the same time or within a week of each other. And he was very dedicated to what he did. And I now have a better understanding of what time it takes. And he did it without the technology that we have today. And I don't know. I do question, how did they survive without what we sometimes have? And it was, I think, maybe a little bit of a slower pace of things. But that's sometimes I think we need maybe a slowdown. Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be against it. I can remember, I think the first one I'm remembering vividly is Charlie Pride was there.
Yep.
Had to be in the 70s. And the radio station at one point used to go down for the week. And we would do either a 10 to 2 or 2 to 6 shift at the fair. And it was really exciting. It was because people could walk by. Oh, there's that guy I always hear, that kind of thing. Jeff Phelps, who has passed. I remember one year, I can't remember what the organization was that we were raising money for, but it was a 501c3. He was in a car, and they somehow lifted the car up, and he was suspended in the air for like a couple days.
Oh, wow.
And I'll never forget that. And we used to have this blue trailer, so we'd move everything down there, except the teletype. For some reason, we could never get that to work down at the fair location. But everything else was there. We had record players there, so we could play because back in those days, that's what you did. You didn't have CDs, or we have digital now. I mean, you actually had to bring a stack of 45s down in order to do your show. So I can remember Charlie Pride vividly, and he was a real crowd pleaser, if I remember correctly. And of course, you had some other shows which are, part of history, but no longer offered there. Things that maybe today would be inappropriate, but that's okay. At the time, they were very popular, I'll say that. And, they had people coming in to see them. So, well, we hope that this year's fair will set a new record for maybe attendance, maybe revenue, whatever. We hope for great weather, first of all, because if you have that, a lot of the other stuff just sort of happens organically. So maybe from the let's say the 17th through the 23rd, we have no rain.
That'd be perfect.
If it's going to rain, it's going to be at night, and it's only going to rain from midnight to 4 a.m., and a nice gentle rain, and then the rest of the time will be nice. And we've got, as we mentioned, the big concert coming up to wrap the thing up on the 22nd. Aaron Lewis and the Stateliners. You can get tickets right now at ParamountVT.org. You and the Paramount have discovered a good relationship over the last few years, and that's great. And we've got a couple of minutes left. I don't know have we not talked about anything you wanted to bring up today?
No, I think we've covered everything. And the big thing that we have to do also is always remember that we're here for the public. We're here for the listeners, and we appreciate each and every one of them that comes out, whether it's for Fair Week or one of those other events, because without you, we don't have a fair. We don't have a fairgrounds. And I know folks have commented about, the efforts, and we started the show by going through just the list of stuff that goes on throughout the summer. And it's not just a fair. It's not just 5 days. We are trying to make sure that the facility is used. That was a common comment when I came in, that, we want to see the fairgrounds used as much as possible. And I hope folks see the efforts that are going into that. I hope, I hope there's excitement surrounding the fair. It always used to be just one of those things that everybody looked forward to. And when the rides started coming into town and getting set up, there's just that air of excitement of, hey, it's coming. So I hope that's real for everyone. Again, I hope that they're looking forward to August. And of course, like we already mentioned, I hope people will plan to spend the day with us on the 4th and come down and just enjoy and celebrate our country. I mean, this is such a special year, not only for us celebrating 180, but to celebrate the country and celebrate the men and women who have given us freedom, kept our freedom. And we want to remember our founding fathers and the fact that they set this place up. They gave us this nation, and now we're entrusted with it, and we want to keep things going and keep things progressing. So,
and you folks can stay apprised of what's going on by visiting the fair's website, Vermont State Fair, all spelled out, .org, and get a hold of Robert Congdon or any of the other trustees to let them know. And hopefully, again, we'll have a great fair this year. Don't forget the Gatehouse. There's a Save the Vermont State Fair Gatehouse underway, a fundraising effort in mid-May. You'll hear more about that, I'm sure, on some of the other shows here on Catamount Radio. So, Robert, thank you so much. Robert Congdon has been our guest, and it's always great to see you, and we'll have you back maybe right before the fair so we can, again, publicize it a little bit for you.
Sounds great, Brian. Thank you, and thank you for all you do, not only at the State House, but here in our community.
And we'll see all of you next week here on Catamount Community Connection.